into the corridor and pumps it long. Oh!
My family and friends and uncles and everyone was just footy mad, so I had no choice really to be around football. I sort of grew up as my second life really. It was being around footy, watching my old man play for Barracoppin or Merredin, all his brothers, his uncles, you know, so I was always there at the ground, so footy was just installed in me as long as I can remember. You know, when I was about 12, 13, I started realising that, you know, I might be pretty good at this game. I started making some more rep teams for the Subiaco Footy Club. I lived in their district, so being a supporter of them all my life, to actually fall under their zone in their district and to actually play for them through all my development sides, and then to go on to play Colts and league footy with them was a real good childhood memory of mine. It's one of my highest achievements, you know, obviously to play for the Subiaco Footy Club. And then from there, it was good enough to have a good year and play a couple of good years for 16s, 17s, and yeah, I was lucky enough when I was 17 to be taken the #1 draft pick all the way to the Brisbane Lions, and you can imagine that was a bit of daunting stage, you know, living in Merredin, moving to Perth, and all of a sudden I'm all the way over the other side of the country.
My role at the moment is a dietitian or a diet person. I talk to people about how the food that they eat can impact their health, and also how it can help their performance on the footy field. So I work with some of the clubs in the West Kimberley Footy League. We've been really lucky this year. We've had quite a few boys that have played AFL in the past who have come up and played in the local league. So they're really great to have around for the boys, so, you know, for them to talk to about what their experience was when they were playing at that sort of level.
After speaking to the dietitians, and you know, there's a few changes I definitely had to make in my diet. You know, the simple ones that you wouldn't think of is, you know, you change your milk to skim milk instead of full cream milk. No butter on your bread or your toast, wholemeal or multigrain bread instead of white bread. You know, taking the skin off your chicken before you eat it, cutting the fat off your meat. You know, they're the things that sort of stick into you. You know, potatoes, for instance, you always put butter in your potatoes and milk to make it nice and creamy. And used to have a lot of dry potatoes, and I'm sure my wife used to hate it most of the times because she had to eat what I had to eat sometimes, you know, and it was a bit different.
The changes that people could make in their diet to be a bit healthier, it's really different for everybody, but some of the things that I pretty regularly talk to people about is cutting the fat off their meat, even if it's not every day, but you know, more days than what you've done in the past. That all helps. Cutting out cool drink is probably one of the big ones that I talk to people about up here. Really no nutritional value, or what we say, no nutritional value in those drinks. They don't really do anything good for your body, and they do a few bad things, and then they're not very good for your dental health as well. So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things that I talk to people about.
Junior footy was pretty rare in Broome. We just sort of had a kick to kick, and there was no sort of proper competition. You know, Auskick wasn't around, and Colts were sort of never there. Boys would go away for footy, so footy was amongst other sports I used to play with me and my cousins growing up. We were pretty close in our street, so we'd you know, go with the seasons: basketball, footy, and cricket. So yeah, we just basically grew up playing footy together, and to this day we're still playing footy together in the same footy team. So.
Yeah, all right. It's a long time ago though.
Long time?
It's 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was actually. We'll see what we got, eh?
30 metres, 30 years. Whoop! Oh! What was that?
Since Saints Football Club taking on a healthy stance on our lifestyle and our football club, you know, we've had Jenna obviously come in and show us some tips on how to be a bit more healthy and prepare for games and training, and that's helped me a lot. And I use that throughout the week during training. You know, eating 4 hours or 3 hours before training, and obviously healthy food, and then sort of take that into Saturday's game, and obviously after the game, eating, rebuilding all those things you lose during the game. So that's all.
Alcohol is probably another one of the bigger ones. You know, particularly in sport, I guess that's something that a lot of people choose to do, bonding with the team and all that sort of thing. But it's definitely something that can impact your performance out on the footy field. So certainly, you know, a lot of people might go out on a Thursday night before a game and think, oh, it's a couple of days out, you know, it's not really going to matter, but you've got to think about what you're putting into your body at that time. If you've had training that night especially, you know, your body's not going to recover very well at all. You're probably going to miss out on a bit of sleep on Thursday night, and that also, you know, affects your performance. It's, you know, on the Saturday. Even the night after, you know, a lot of the teams will go out and have a drink after the game. Obviously, that also will affect your recovery after the game, and it has an impact on how your body recovers from like soft tissue injuries as well. So if you think about all the things that you would normally do after a soft tissue injury, it's trying to keep blood out of that site. So when you're resting it, you're icing it, you're elevating it, you're lifting it up. All of those things are trying to keep blood out of that area so it heals nicely, but alcohol actually does the opposite. So if you do drink, and especially if you drink to excess, more than what you should, you find that your body just doesn't heal very well at all.
Yesterday, with part of the training for the East Kimberley or the Kimberley boys was nutrition, done by Jenna Cowie, and I think it really sunk in, because they had some free time this morning and we went to the shops, and some of the boys, they were too frightened to go and buy a milkshake because they thought someone might be watching them. And yeah, I bought it. It was a fruit drink thing, but we tried to tell them that, you know, it was good for them, but they were still a bit touchy about drinking it.
Yeah, when I first made it to the AFL, things changed because, you know, you become all of a sudden an elite athlete, and you know, you have to make sure that what goes into your body benefits for your training and your sleeping and all your recovery habits. So it was a big shock, a big culture shock in food. I remember, I'll tell you a story. I remember our first meeting that we had all together. We had a big group meeting, and as I said, as a kid growing up, I just had basic sandwiches, you know, Vegemite on toast, or a bit of polony sauce, or ham and cheese toasties, you know, nothing too over the top. And I got there and I was eating this, they had all these sandwiches out on the table, and obviously fruit and juice and water and all that stuff, and you know, in between our meeting breaks, and you go out and there's all this chicken and salad and ham and salad, and you know, which is great. And I saw this one and I was like, oh, this might taste all right, and I'm eating it, and I was like, oh, this chicken and jam tastes lovely, eh? But it ended up being turkey and cranberry, and all the boys just absolutely pissed themselves laughing and couldn't believe that I thought I was eating chicken and jam in a sandwich, and I had no idea what turkey and cranberry was back then, because my education about food wasn't as good as it should have been. But I quickly learnt, you know, nutritionists and dietitians are full time at AFL footy clubs, and you sit with them as a young, when you're first or 4 year players, probably spend a lot more time with them to teach them, you know, what has to be in your body.
Yeah, I started playing Cable Beach when I was 16, 17, and ended up having a good season there and won the best and fairest, and played pretty good in the Kimberley Spirit, and I started to sort of get noticed from a few waffle clubs, and played a few games for Swan Districts, but then ended up choosing Subi to play for, and moved down the following year, and that's how I ended up at Subi.
I started playing when I was 14, 15. Came through the Tigers development squads. A few players from Broome get sent down to Perth to play in a few football carnivals. So I came up through that, and yeah, went down and played Colts for Claremont in my first year. Ended up winning the premiership that year, so that was a pretty standout year. And after that, had 1 more year at Claremont and then moved to Subi, and now I'm back in Broome.
When we identify talented boys for, you know, to put them through development programs and also transition them into higher levels, it's important that
We really look at their lifestyle. The demands of state level or higher footy requires them to, you know, a lot of physical demand on the body with training and playing. And the only way that they can sustain that is by having a good lifestyle, and a lot of that revolves around diet.
I got to a bit more playing footy down south here. Learned to have a big meal before the game the night before, and stuff like pasta and the spaghetti came into it. So picked up a few things or you normally wouldn't eat before games to help you out.
Yeah, down in Perth, I guess the sound of footy, I guess you'd say, rises. So the energy levels really need to be up, and I guess that starts with the carbo loading in terms of pasta. Yeah, and just mainly staying well hydrated is the main thing, I guess. So just to give you the energy to keep running around.
And we have to educate them on what a good diet is, and, you know, basically around you know, what carbohydrates and when to consume carbohydrates, and in particular the type, and making sure it's good carbohydrates. Staying away from the, you know, sugary substances as well. But also, you know, fatty foods as well. So we try and keep it simple, focusing on fresh produce, lots of fruit and lots of vegetables, and you know, the understanding that meat and fish and those meals are very good as well. It's how, you know, what you eat it with as well. So that's our focus. A lot of that, because again, how their diet and lifestyle is will impact their performance.
I remember, you know, one time, I think it was, you know, a couple of weeks into my first year at Brisbane, and went across the road to the local the milk bar, they call it over there. We call it a deli over here in WA, but the local milk bar, and got myself a nice big chicken and salad roll, and got myself a you know, chopped milk and a sausage roll with sauce on the side, just to have, you know, if I was still hungry afterwards. And all the boys were just looking at me staring, this bloke for real, he can't be doing this. So the good thing about it is the senior players have a crack at you and say, you can't do that, this is not good for you. You know, you got to learn right now that this is not the habit to get into, you know. And I was a bit shocked and a bit taken back, but it was, you know, I quickly learned the lesson. Don't worry about that, and chucked the sausage roll in the bin and never bought one again. You know, so I'm not saying I don't have a sausage roll no more, but, you know, back in the day when I was playing footy, it was a bit different. But yeah, they're pretty just the basic stuff that people take for granted. Don't realise that, you know, the old no butter on the bread was exactly, you can't have Vegemite with no butter. You know, but we used to have some dry Vegemites. Don't worry about that.
Part of my job is to come out to Looma, which is about an hour and a half out of Derby. We come out for footy training. We do some fitness testing, nutrition and some cooking. So just yell out if it's not sort of making sense. But the three main things I talk about today is carbs or carbohydrates, that word, yep. There's protein foods, and then fats as well. And there's different foods, like they sort of... So it's really fun to go out and do some cooking with the boys. It might just be, you know, showing them how to prepare a really quick, easy meal. So, you know, a lot of people might have done that before, but others may not have. So it's good, you know, good to see the boys chopping up their own veggies and putting it all in the pan and cooking it up. So some of the things that we talk to them about is which kind of oils to use. So it might be something like using a canola or a sunflower oil instead of using butter to fry with. You could use a non-stick pan or use a spray oil even. That can be a good thing to do. We talk to them about cutting the fat off their meat. You know, if you've got a non-stick pan, you really don't need the fat in the meat to cook it with. And also how to get heaps of different veggies into the different meals. So sometimes we say, you know, you might try and choose one of each colour. And things like that. But also maybe introducing some new vegetables sometimes. There are some veggies that you might not get out bush that you get here in town, so that can be a good thing to do as well. And that's pretty good to prepare people if they do go down to Perth. Cooking a healthy dinner doesn't have to be anything too complicated. It can be something as simple as like a stir fry and rice. You can throw heaps of different kinds of vegetables in there. All you really need is a chopping board, a good knife and a fry pan. I had a local girl, Mandela, come around to my place recently and show us how easy and quick it could really be.
I left Broome when I was 1 year old, grew up in Derby till about year 9, year 10. That's when one of the Clontarf teachers brought the question on if I wanted to play footy, and I just, yeah, I'd give it a go. And then I ended up enjoying it, kept playing, and ended up moving back to Broome with family. Stayed with my grandfather. That's when I started playing for the Saints, had my first year, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to stay there now.
One of the other important things that I found working in the footy club, I've been in different roles at presidents and coaching and playing, and we use football as a vehicle to bring messages across, and also healthy messages through and engaging young men to be healthy and wise.
Our local Saints Footy Club, we have Jenna Cowie, the local nutritionist. She comes in once a month, usually Mondays, and she talks about nutrition, hydration. I was unlucky, I missed the nutrition. I was there for hydration, but that lesson really helped me with my self-confidence playing footy. I was really, usually leading up to the game, I was really worried every week about my fitness, that I won't be able to run out of the game. Then I heard that water really helps with that and helps you keep going. So after I heard that, I was happy and I just loved it, kept drinking water.
Yeah, well, my prep usually starts on a Friday night by drinking about 2 litres of water before bed, but that keeps me up a bit at night. And try and get a bit of pasta in the night before as well. And for breakfast, usually eggs on toast. And a lot more water just to keep hydrated. So, and usually a banana or something just before the game, just for a bit of energy. So,
I like to drink a lot of water just before, usually a few days before footy, before game day. Usually just a few litres every day, but when it comes to the night before, I try to get about 3 or 4 litres. And when I wake up, I try to have about the same. So when it comes to being on the field, I don't get hydrated. The sun doesn't affect me, but that's usually why I don't even think about cool drink. Cool drink just gets you all gassy and makes your stomach not feel good, makes you feel bloated. I don't want to feel like that on the field. I like to feel nice and light and healthy and hydrated.
Yeah, about eating healthy, you know, it's very important for the Indigenous community. Obviously diabetes and heart disease is a big factor. My father's got diabetes, my uncles have lost limbs through diabetes, so it's definitely in my family. So I'm really diligent of what I put into my body, and obviously playing AFL footy and having the nutritionists and dietitians to really guide you along the way to teach you what are the right foods has been installed in my head, and it will be for the rest of my life. And I definitely bring that to my children to make sure they do have their fruit, have their vegetables every day, and then when you do that, you feel fantastic. And it's when you go off and I do it. Everyone has a bit of junk food now and then, and a bit of cool drink, and you feel terrible afterwards, and you feel sluggish. When you do, you have something healthy, you feel good in yourself. You feel up and energetic and about, and there's no remedy to it. You are what you eat, really. If you put in good things into your body, well, then you're gonna feel good, mentally and physically. Yeah.
I didn't really like salads when I was young, so I started eating them. I haven't even tried them. I told Mum and Dad, no, I didn't like it. I don't want to eat it. You didn't even taste it, So now I tried it. I actually do like them, and your food tastes better with the salad. It's not that I have to eat it, it's that I want to eat it. You should love it.
Any young fellas want to trying to make it high level, you just got to be committed and got to make a few sacrifices, and a lot of hard work comes in it. Just won't happen. So as long as you're committed and want to get there, you should be right.
The thing that I love working about up here is seeing how amazing all of these boys are that play up here, and it really is possible for any of them to go that far all the way to the AFL. We know it can happen because we've seen heaps of boys from up here go down and be successful. I guess it's just about having that passion and being willing to make those changes in your life.
Yeah, the greatest inspirations of my life and my footy career, one in particular is Brad Spister. He was definitely a mad Fremantle Dockers man. He bleeds purple. and you know, he's definitely something that I always admired, and he was something that always had that thing in the back of my head that you got to work hard at your game, mate.
A healthy dinner doesn't really have to be anything too complicated.
Old man from the bush, take me back to my homeland, where the waters are so clean.
Yeah, that was Sonny and his older brother Neil. They were known as Dugong at Subi for their skin folds and all that. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Balance if you can, come back to the land.
Can you do it? Oh. Flat ball, we got everything against us.
If you can.
You can imagine a young 17-year-old boy running out, playing against his idols. And I played the first 10 minutes. I remember John Blakey and Glenn Archer walking down. I was playing the forward pocket, and I was thinking, I was actually shitting myself. I was shaking. I was thinking, these are one of the idols I just looked up to as a kid growing up. And eventually, Johnny Blakey came and played on me. He played over 300 AFL games, one of the legends to ever play the game. But the moral of the story is, after 10 minutes, I went for a bit of a run up the field and made my way to sort of our centre-half back, but North Melbourne centre-half forward line, and there was Wayne Carey, and all I remember was just stood there, and just the first time I've ever laid eyes on him, and just stood there and just glazed at him. And I think the coaches found out and saw me do that and took me off the field, and never played the rest of the game.
And the birds fill the air with salty song.
Yeah, the greatest inspirations of my career, my life, and my footy career is definitely Brad Brisbane. How do you say it?
And he said, drugs and drinking wine, he ain't no friend of mine. Balance if you can, come back to the land if you can. To the land if you can. To the land. Pushtaga. Pangade, mine. Culture. Come back to the land.